Hey guys, welcome back. Another episode here of Banish the Doubt. In this episode, what I'm going to talk about, what I'm going to portray, get across to you guys and to myself as I speak in these videos, I speak to myself as much as I'm speaking to you. But the message I want to get across today is who you are, who we are in this moment, where we come from is by a large degree unconscious. Who we are and where we come from is nothing that this world outside of ourself portrays. What I'm saying is anything you see outside of yourself, yes, it's a reflection of your innermost thoughts, but it goes beyond that. And I'm going to explain that to you guys and to myself here today. You see, in our life, we've been conditioned and programmed and hypnotized and in a trance to believe that we have to become something, make something of yourself, do something with your life. When are you going to grow up? See, this is the conditioning that a lot of us heard growing up. Or he or she just needs to grow up. You need to make something of your life. But what I'm going to talk about here today is what if on this journey, it's not about becoming anything? What if on this journey, it's about unbecoming who we already are? And I know that sounds somewhat paradoxical, but I'm going to sort of undo this here and more in this video. So I came across this quote yesterday, and the light above my head here really reflects on the pad, so you're not going to be able to see it. So I'm just going to go ahead and read from that, but I'm going to then expound on this while I'm reading. Okay, so it says here, maybe the journey isn't about becoming anything, but maybe it's about unbecoming everything that isn't really who you are or who I am. So you can then be all who you were meant to be. And that comes from Paulo Coelho. Not sure who that was, but I happened to see this quote and I thought, wow, that really resonated with me. This life is about unbecoming. And I'm going to start to talk about that here a little bit more. So the Buddha said, how many thousands of years ago, we become what we think of. Okay. So I'm going to take some of what I heard from Dr. Bruce Lipton, a talk he gave, I think a couple of years ago that I watched. Okay. And he said this quote: when your conscious mind isn't paying attention, the subconscious mind takes over. It is the autopilot, and it takes over based on the programs in it. Okay. So you've heard me in previous videos talk about when you're driving. Okay. So we're driving, and maybe somebody's in the car with us, and we're having a conversation, and we get involved in the conversation. Or maybe we're not with somebody, we're alone, and we happen to hear a song come across, our iPad or the radio, whatever it may be, a song starts to play. And we either get engrossed with the conversation, or obviously we get, we say, oh, this is a good song, turn it up, right? Because that's what everybody says, oh, turn that up, that's a great song. And instantly we start thinking about the emotions that the song or the conversation we're having with somebody elicits within us. And we're going along. Now, if I had asked you what song was playing, you would tell me, that quick, you would tell me, right? If I told you what was the conversation or how was the conversation, you would say, oh, this was a good conversation. We talked about blah, 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 blah. Great. What did the road look like? What were the trees? What was the scenery as you were involved in this conversation or listening to this song? You would think, oh, I really couldn't tell you that. Why? Because we weren't paying attention. Okay? So when our conscious mind isn't paying attention, then the subconscious mind takes over. It's the autopilot. Okay? So keep that in mind here. Now, When did we get this programming, this autopilot? How is it programmed? Okay. A fundamental part of this is astounding when we start to hear about this. Okay. The startup system in our brain, so just like this computer that I'm broadcasting this video through, the startup system is if I had bought this video, excuse me, if I bought this computer, brought it home and I pushed, start, I booted it up. And I'd say, someone would say, hey, George, go type an essay on the Word doc or whatever. Well, I couldn't if the programming wasn't downloaded within the computer already, right? So hold with me for a second about this. So the startup system in our brain is working in the last trimester of pregnancy. So the last trimester, when we were just this fetus within our mother's womb, that's when our brains turned on. Okay, so our mother tells us though our mom spoke to us as this fetus. Okay, and it spoke to us and it told us what the world was like outside. So we as a little fetus, we were told, hey, what's the world like? And our mother told us. Okay, now if she was under stress during this time, okay, then it's a threatening situation. This changes now just the stressful environment that our mom was in, or if she was in, during this time, okay, when our brains turned on in the last trimester. If that was the case, then the genetics of the fetus, of who we are, changed based on that. Okay, now hang with me here for a second. This is profound. This is tremendous information. Why it's not shared in schools, what have you, or maybe it is, I don't know, but why it's not, that's a different story for a different day. Okay. Now, if mom, during this, final, the trimester, the last trimester of the pregnancy, if she saw the opposite, if she saw a life that was wonderful, happy, and healthy, that also has or had a impact on the fetus. Okay. So when the mother is happy, the brain of the child gets fully developed. Let me say that again. That's profound. When the mom was happy during this final trimester of the pregnancy, of the child's pregnancy, the brain, the fetus, the brain was fully developed. If, however, the mom was stressed during this final trimester, the child can lose up to 50% of its conscious ability. 50% of IQ consciousness is lost from a mother who is in stress during pregnancy, during specifically the final trimester of pregnancy. Okay? Now, Dr. Lipton said, what gets you through a stressful world? Well, muscles, right? Strength. The hindbrain he talked about. This is the sports person, okay? This is the street fighter. This is that consciousness, awareness. This is who gets through that type of a situation. Okay? This is what the world is like for them. Okay. Now, how do you survive? Physically, you don't survive consciously. You survive in an environment like that physically. Now, how does this programming then work? You might be asking, like, well, how does it? What are the effects of this? Okay. Now, the other thing about I didn't tell you about what I wrote down there as far as strength and physical or muscles and sports minded. Also, obviously, that lends to competition, right? So we have to compete against other people. There's no, we're not, we're competing against others. It's us versus them. Okay, that team versus my team. This is very much what the world is like for a mother and a child, a fetus that's born into this world that came through a pregnancy of stress. Now, I'd like you to think from zero. Okay, so from that fetus, from age 0 to age 2. I have the chart here, but it's hard for you to see. Or maybe I could write. I just want you to think of it. Okay, as a chart like this. Okay, So down here from age 0 to 2, our brains are in delta. That's when the brain first turns on. It's delta. That's from 0 to 2. From 0 to age 7, we're in the brain is in what's called a theta state. So from 0 to 2, it's in delta. It's starting to form. From 2 to 7, it's in theta. And what theta is like hypnosis. Okay. Theta is the part of the brain that's we're able to, it's able to be programmed. So what we witnessed at this age of our life was we had no conscious development of our brain. So whatever the environment was like, that's what was programmed into our subconscious mind, because the conscious mind is not developed. So it's all consciousness. It's in theta. So everything is, we're observing. We can't obviously talk, we can't communicate, but we're just taking everything in. It's like this computer here. You're just programming everything into it. Okay? So this is the programmable state. It's also what's referred to as enculturation. And I'll explain that here in a few minutes. But keep that in mind, keep that word in mind, enculturation. So programmable state and enculturation from last trimester through age 7. Now, a baby is going to grow up in a family, and if it obviously grows up in a family, it has to know what the rules are, right? So what are the rules of the family? And if it's going to go out into the public, then it needs to know what are the rules, right? So you're going to grow up, you need to know the rules of the family. What is this family like, and what's public like? What are the rules out there in public? How do we, how do we survive? How do we involve ourselves in public? Okay. Now, we can't, in this age of our life, we can't read, so it's all hypnosis. So we learn by observing. What was mom and dad like? What was mom and dad's relationship with each other? How does a man treat a woman? Well, we observe. How does dad treat mom? How does a woman treat a man? Well, we observe. How does mom treat dad? What are the conversations like? Do we have older brothers and sisters? What were those conversations? What was the attitude towards us from the others? We're going out and about, age 3, 4, and 5. Well, what was the outside like? What was school like? What kind of school did you go to? What were the teachers like? Did you go to some sort of religious institution, a church or a synagogue or a temple? What were the communicate? What was this? What's the messaging then? And what was the messaging there? What was life like? So we're taking all these rules in, thousands and thousands of rules. But again, we're not writing anything down. We're not reading anything. It's just being downloaded into us. Okay. So let me go on real quick before I change the page. So from age 7 to age 12, Dr. Lipton calls this alpha stage. Okay, we're starting to get we're consciousness, soft consciousness, he referred to as. We're starting to understand things. We're starting to pick up things. Okay, we're starting to see things. We're speaking. We're interacting with people. Then from age 12 on, we're in beta. Beta is the school. It's work. Okay, now you're going to school. You're going to get a job. From 12 on, you're going to get a job. We're going to understand, like, what's this world? How do we operate in this world? So alpha stage is calm consciousness. Beta is more, we're involved. We're growing up. We're starting to really get involved in the world. We're starting to develop our own consciousness. Now understand this this brain of ours is like a computer, okay? And this fundamental programming did not come from us, okay? Why is this relevant? Why is this relevant? Why is this relevant? It's because whoever was doing all this unconsciously, they were doing it. It didn't support our wishes and our desires, okay? None of us, which is what we wanted, okay? They're somebody else's life. Like what I've heard before, and I've said in previous videos is the baggage that we carry around. Okay, this baggage we carry around in our life is not ours. These rocks, these stones, these boulders that we carry around, the way it has nothing to do with us. It's not. It's your bag is empty. There's nothing in your bag. It's been empty. Okay. Most of the downloads, now listen to this, this is profound. Okay, most of this programming, the downloaded programming in our bag, if you will, that we're carrying around, 70% of it is disempowering. 70% is disempowering, self-sabotaging, and limited. Okay, these are developed, this developed our beliefs. So we are acting each day in our life. We are acting based on this fundamental programming. This is huge. And the 70% of what we were taught, what we downloaded, we observed was self-sabotaging, disempowering, and limiting. I would like to write that down. Okay. This is tremendous information. If you find yourself in life, and it could be you could be watching this video, you could have a lot of money, but you just don't feel comfortable. You just something's missing. Or you could be the opposite, where you feel like that wall behind you, you're constantly walking into it when it comes to trying to make something in your life and financially trying to get somewhere. You know, you had a business and it fell apart. You had businesses, plural, and it fell apart. Relationships, you're just not comfortable in a relationship. You have had failed relationships. There's no such thing as a failed relationship, by the way. There's nothing. Remove that from your mind. There's nothing failed about it. Okay, we just don't understand. It's kind of like a guy and a girl meet and they fall in love, and they're literally they are in love. They have this wonderful time, right? But we know the I don't have here cards, but if I had cards, I'd say we have cards. Okay, we're in a relationship. We find somebody. The cards these fingers are my cards. We hide them here, what they call close to the vest, right? We're not going to show them any of the 70% disempowering, limiting beliefs or this what's going on in our life. We're going to show them the perfume, the hair's just right, the makeup is just perfect, the clothes look really good, right? We're going to go out and we fall in love, we have this relationship, and then we announce we're going to get married. Okay, everybody's wonderful, happy, we're going to get married. And it is. But then you come home. Then you go live into a house. But what you're doing is that person and that person are walking in with this luggage over their shoulder, and it's this stuff that they bought with them. They bring it into this marriage. Okay. Suddenly things go a little sideways. Something, money, what have you, business doesn't work out, or whatever, an illness. And then the person who's the real person, how they handle the situations in their life, how they were shown how to handle this, reveals itself. Okay, and there's problems. So this is just like a little additive that I wanted to throw in there about this. But let me continue. Okay, so when we're operating from our subconscious mind, we're operating from these beliefs. So the beliefs that we have, that we download, the programmed beliefs, that's what we're operating from. And that's what I just illustrated in this story. Okay, so I mentioned enculturation earlier. Some of you may understand what that word is. I didn't. I had to look it up, and this is what I found. The definition is it's a process of learning and internalizing the values, beliefs, behaviors, and norms of one's own culture. Remember, the rules for the family. What are the rules for the family? What's the rules for the culture? Okay. Now, we're learning thousands and thousands of rules as we're growing up, okay, not by reading, but by observing and recording. So we're learning that, well, whatever your nationality is, that's our culture, and this is how we do things, right? This is how we as a family handle situations. This is how we as a culture handle situations. This is what we are. This is who we are. We're, Italian, or we're Irish, or whatever. And this is who we are. This is how we handle. This is how we Italians, we Irish, we Colombians, we Brazilian, whatever, we Russians. This is how we handle things. This is how we do things. That's you. Do you want to handle that way? Maybe not. Okay, but this is what they talk about. This is that again, that is part of the 0 through age 7, what we learn, we download it. The other thing that was developed during those formidable years is self identity. Okay, this is huge. Parents act, now think about this. Parents were like our first coaches, right, in our life. So parents acted like coaches, not consciously, but this is what we learned. Coaching a team. Now, what does a coach say when a kid is not performing? Come on, you can do better, right? You can do better than that. Who do you think you are? You're not that good, right? You don't deserve to be on this team. These are the things that we may have heard growing up. Now, when we're older in beta and we hear these things, we say, oh, great, okay, I got to work harder, I got to focus more, right? But to a child, a baby from age 0 through age 7, hearing this, okay, the messaging is you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not beautiful enough. You're not capable or worthy or deserving. Okay. Parents were thinking they were helping by sticking us a little bit. By saying these things, parents thought they were helping us, but we're downloading this information. We're not conscious 3rd trimester through age 7. We're just downloading this information. Okay. And that becomes the program. Now, remember the conversation or the story I gave about the car. When you're in the car, when we're not actively thinking, when we're not engaged in the moment. Now, watching my video, you could be watching this, and son, your mind, you find your mind drifting somewhere else. When we're thinking about something, we're in this subconscious mind. I would like you to think of like right here in front of your head, okay, is our conscious mind, the frontal lobe, the front lobe, the frontal lobe, okay, the crowning achievement of man, of man. Okay, it's what the animals don't have. Okay, it's the conscious mind. Animals aren't conscious like we are. They don't. We think when we're conscious. I would like for you to think of this. Okay, 95% of who we are by the time we're age 35 is a set of memorized emotional reactions, behaviors, and actions. Okay, how we react to things is based off of this subconscious programming, which I said that we don't realize that we're acting based off of this program and not conscious decisions that we make. So I want to pivot to that right here. Now, cognitive neuroscientists have said that we are conscious of only 5% of our cognitive activity. Now, I'll say it again. We are only conscious of 5% of the cognitive activity in our brain. That means that 95% of our day, okay, so 5% of our day we're operating based off of wishes and desires. Only 5%. It means the other 95% are of our decisions, are our actions. 95% of our decisions, actions, emotions, and behaviors during our day depend on the 95% of the brain activity that takes place beyond our conscious awareness. So the decisions we make, the actions, behaviors are all based on the 95%, the programming that I just laid out for us here in this video. That's where the bulk of our decision making, our actions, our reactions, you heard me say this in previous videos, when we're reacting, we're basing it off of subconscious programming. When we're responding, We're conscious. It's why we refer to as firefighters, police, and EMS technicians or EMS personnel as first responders, not first reactors. You wouldn't want any of them showing up in an accident saying, "Oh my God, can you look at this? Oh my God, look at this person. Look at that. Oh my God, there's blood everywhere. I can't believe this." We wouldn't want them saying that, right? So they're trained to be responders, not reactors. What we do, and think about this, whenever someone says something to you that triggers you, okay, it's not triggering you, it's touching that subconscious programming. The subconscious program is reacting to that. It's reacting, it's not responding. So when if we can get to the point in our life, and this is how we can start to change the programming, we can get to a point in our life where we are cognizant, we are in staying in the moment as much as possible, and we can become aware of things in the moment. As we do this, this becomes victories in our life. And I want to share some information here with you. This comes from Neville Goddard, okay? My circumstances are but a shadow, an echo of past thoughts, feelings, actions, assumptions, and beliefs. There's no one to change but self. My external circumstances, including the people in my life, are a reflection of my inner state. Okay? To attempt to change circumstances before you change your imaginal activity is to struggle against the very nature of things. There can be no outer change until there is first an imaginal change. Everything you do, accompanied by an imaginal change, is but futile readjustment of surfaces. Imagining the wish fulfilled brings about a union with that state, and during that union, you behave in keeping with your imaginal change. So, what Neville Goddard is talking about here is the way that we reprogram our mind, the way we reprogram everything is by becoming conscious as much as we can throughout the day. It's about seeing whatever it is that you want to have achieved in your life. Again, talked about earlier in this conversation, in this video, if you have a lot of money, but relationships are not going well, or your health, okay, you have a lot of money, but your health is not well, you're not good. To change anything, we must first see it in ourselves in the moment, now, in this moment. And how we do this is by becoming, by detaching ourselves as much as possible from the reality that we see, because the reality that you see is nothing more than a reflection of your innermost thoughts, desires, attitudes, reactions, what have you. And what is that? Well, that's the 95% of the programming that's been downloaded into our minds from those before us. And again, remember, if you were born into a stressful environment, then you want to understand that there is no physical anything. There is no competition in this world. It's collaboration. It's not competition. It's collaboration. Okay. Now, today is Sunday and it's September, so there's a lot of football on in the TV. I've noticed that over the years, a lot of the competitors, a lot of them, they're very much friendly after the competition. They compete with each other, but they understand they're just gifted players in whatever sport it is. But there's a collaboration, there's an understanding. They're competing against each other, but they're also sort of a part of a brotherhood, union, what have you. But this is what I feel like the world is heading to. It's heading away from more of a competitive, physical street fighter type of an environment, and more of a collective, of a we're working with each other. Okay. And the way we do this is we see ourselves in the moment as if it's already happening. You see yourself as being perfect health if you're having health challenges, or you see yourself as already having the money that is required to pay the mortgage, pay the rent, whatever it may be, pay the car payment. When you're driving in your car, you don't see the car you're driving in. You imagine the car that you would like to have. Okay, just as an example. So you live your life in the moment as much as possible, but living the moment that you have already achieved, that which you are desired to achieve. Now, I want to continue, okay? Whenever we find ourselves in a situation when we're complaining, okay, this is what I'm not sure if this is Neville or not, but when I complain or explain, okay, feel like we have to explain ourselves. I am operating from the level of the outer man. This is Neville. Okay. The man of flesh. Now, man, I mean the person. The person of flesh who sees me as separate from source and subject from external sources. I am not this outer person. I am the inner person. The kingdom of God is within you, which is what the Bible says. This is not a metaphor. This is a literal truth about the nature of my being. The realm of infinite possibility and perfect creation reside within my own consciousness. When I complain, I am denying this kingdom. When I explain, I am seeking it outside of myself. Turn within. Seek first the source. All else will be added to you. When you dwell, align yourself with source, with your true nature as a divine as a divine creature. There is nothing to complain about and nothing to explain. You are creating your world through your imagination and assumptions. Your complaints and explanations do not serve you. Rather, they keep you bound to the circumstances that you wish to change. So remember, if anything is happening external to you that you're not liking, don't complain about it. Look inward. What's going on within me that I am observing this? What is it about this circumstance that is teaching me about myself? If you start to adopt these principles, adopt these practices, go inward, always go inward. And I don't mean thinking, I mean just meditating, separating yourself from the circumstances that you wish to change. You change first. You, me, we change first. As we change, that changes. No one can change but self. Remember that as much as you can. No, nothing or no one to change but self. And who is self? Self is, again, its majority of that is the 95% of who we are, the programs that we're operating from. So this is how we change those programs. And one final word on this. So when I talked about theta, when we first started describing this state, theta is when we're waking up in the morning and we're first kind of clearing our eyes and maybe we're just getting out of bed and we're kind of groggy, we're not awake, we're sort of kind of passing through, we're getting back from that resting state, now going back in, we're in theta, we're going to start to come into our life. Okay, the life is start to go to happen. When we're in that state, that is the time to be conscious of being grateful. Be grateful for everything, from the sheets on your bed to the floor that you're walking on to the bathroom you're going to be going into. Everything and anything you can feel, you can become aware of, be thankful for the fact you just woke up. Okay? Because what that does, it goes right into our subconscious mind. Remember what I mentioned? Theta is the programmed state. Okay? It's the state where we're in hypnosis. So we're still in that hypnotic state. So we want to start to talk to ourselves that way. The same as when we go to bed at night. If you can start to maybe purchase some earbuds and you want to get some sort of downloads. Again, if it's about money, you want to maybe get some downloads about you are rich. I am so happy. One of the affirmations that I use is I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities from various sources on a consistent basis. I'll say it again. Now, notice the wording. I am, present tense here. I am so happy and grateful. Remember, gratitude. Now, period. I stop. I don't stop in the affirmation, but I'm stopping for this for sort of illustrative purposes. So I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a continuous basis. Again, okay? Now here's another affirmation. I have a lavish, steady, dependable income. So notice the wording. I am, in the first affirmation, I have, it's all present tense, a lavish, steady, dependable income. Now, I want to stop here for a second. If upon hearing the word lavish, you start to immediately, if that word elicits certain type of thinking in your mind, like, I'm not so sure lavish, and understand in that moment, if you can catch it, because this used to be me, that's why I'm saying this, catch yourself. Notice if you feel that way, that's the old programming, okay? If you did that and you catch yourself, that's a victory. But I'll continue, okay? I have a lavish, steady, dependable income, consistent with integrity and mutual agreement. Okay, so these are just a couple of affirmations you may want, and for money. You can just substitute money for health. You can substitute money for whatever it is, you're maybe wanting to change in your life. But these are some of the affirmations. I happen to use the one that I am rich from YouTube, put plugged in your ears. Here's the reason I'm saying this at nighttime, because as we're drifting back into sleep, we're going back into theta, okay? As we're listening to this and we're drifting back into our sleep. And sleep, by the way, is the majority of our life is sleeping, is spent sleeping. As we drift into sleep and we fall asleep, that is going into our brains. And just like when we first came into this world, what was the messaging and how frequently was it? It was repetitive, right? Think about, you're in this environment called a family. And what was the messaging? It was constant. It was consistent. It was all the time. The way your mom talked to you, your dad talked to you, the way mom talked to dad talked to mom, grandma, grandpa, right? This whole family. We observed, we listened to, we downloaded. This is consistent, repetitive, 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 repetitive. So this is how we're going to change. Repetitive, repetitive, repetitive. We're going to, another exercise I used to do when I first started listening and started changing my life was I wrote down affirmations 500 times a day. You could do this if you'd like, but I would sit and write, I am worthy. I approve of myself, because there was a lot of thinking that went on to, leading up to my diagnosis with cancer. As I learned this, I started to understand that it was my own thinking, how I spoke to myself the majority of my life. I used to have panic attacks. Panic attacks happen because your body is under the stress all the time. You don't even realize it. That's why you can have a panic attack without consciously thinking about that stress that's going on. Because, like we said here in the messaging today in this video, the majority, the 95% of what takes place is behind the scenes. We don't even realize it's taking place. So this is how we go about, one day at a time, one video at a time, one messaging at a time, one meditation at a time. We start to change. Take some time out of your day when you can, if even it's just 5 minutes, and just close your eyes and just try to and just notice your thinking and start to, you don't think so much as oh, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, but just kind of cool the temperature down in your body. If you're in an environment, a stressful environment at your job or whatever it may be, just kind of lower the temperature a little bit and just remind yourself of who you are. If you're going to go out to your car, let's say lunchtime or whatever it may be, you're sitting the car that you own it now. See the car, smell it, taste it, touch it, feel it, all of that. Your life. When you wake up tomorrow morning, wake up in that house. If you currently are renting right now, wake up in the house, see it in your mind, see yourself waking up, getting out of bed, and what does it look like? Okay, what does it smell like? What are the world what do the walls look like? Okay, one of my affirmations is about owning a home on, not just owning a home down the shore, but on the ocean. I can smell the ocean air. I can see myself standing on the deck, okay, overlooking the ocean. I could feel the warm breeze on my skin. As we do this, as we're doing it in the moment, we start to change. And again, it's repetition. We start to change that thinking within our mind. We are that person. The reason you can, and this, I'll leave with this. The reason you can desire any of this is because creation is finished. There is a version of you already living that. It's like I take my son and I videotape him in the batting cage with swinging the bat. Okay. Now we can watch him swing and I can videotape. And then what I do with the video, obviously I break it down frame by frame and we analyze the frame to see where he needs to make adjustments. We don't react, we respond. The frame, that slide, that frame is you. There is a frame out there. There's a slide out there with you in it living that life. This is how we start to change. We change in the moment. This is how you can do that, to live the life that you've always desired, and now absolutely 100% will live that life. You deserve it. You are worthy of it. It is time right here, right now, that you start to believe that. And this is how we go about doing that. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for watching my videos, subscribing to my channel. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. I love you all. Thank you so much, and I will see you the next time.